Hey guys, Marstinkin here, bringing a Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so a team that I wanted to take another look at here today is a team that's gotten a lot of buffs with some of these recent characters, not just from the worldwide celebration, but from the anniversary. And that is, of course, the Super Saiyans team. Now, there's a lot of different options you can run on this team, especially now with how powerful some of these units are. One unit that's kind of missing from when I do the build where I run the double tech Vegeta leads is the AGL Super Saiyan Broly, but I think with Vegeta on the team as well, I do want to make sure that we can get the full super class rotation for Gohan. So ideally what I'm going to be doing is running a setup where Vegeta is the slot 1 unit on one turn, and then the other turn we have the physical trio as the slot 1 unit, and then and then STR Gohan. So him and Vegeta, like, their paths will never cross, right? So we don't have to worry about it affecting Gohan's active skill. So we're going to jump into the movie boss rush red zone, because it's a little bit of a longer event and we can kind of get a few more turns to see like exactly what everybody is going to be doing. And then of course, you know, we can use the family Kamehameha active skill towards the end, potentially get, you know, the full charges and then take out Broly and see how that goes. So I think what we want to do here, so we've got the trio on the other rotation. I guess we will float off Gohan, I guess. Normally I wouldn't probably float him off on the first turn, but I guess it just depends on the team setup, right? And we can't control our opening rotations, so we'll just get him floated off here and see how it works out. Now, the thing we do have to think about with this team is obviously the actual LR, the in LR Super Saiyans themselves. They are very much like a slot 2 or 3 unit. Ideally 2, because their super attack buff only lasts for 3 turns. So they are a unit that if you float them off in slot 3, once they come back around again, like, they've lost any buffs that they had from being on rotation the previous time. So they're not really a unit that ideally you want to put in slot 3. Which does create a bit of an issue, I guess, when it comes to using Gohan on this team, because he very much wants to be in slot 2. Now, once we go into the standby, he can be in slot 1. And to be fair, like, in shorter events, you're probably going to stand by with him straight away, so that you get the chance to get the full 5 turns of charge before the event, like, then ends, right? Whereas obviously in this event specifically, because this event is a bit longer, then obviously we do have to think about how we want to use the active skill and when. So we'll see how we get on. But yeah, you can see here Gohan definitely not hitting as high of an attack stat on this first turn. I need to double check his, here we get 2 additional normals. Let me double check his passive, because we get the, does he get the 77% buff when, for each super that, well, he didn't do any additional supers, unfortunately, but the attack stat was surprisingly low. I'm not sure if I'm only thinking about so much about his base form, his standby needing the full super class rotation to get the damage reduction, but where has he gone? There he is. With each attack performed, yeah, okay. He didn't get a lot of ki, I guess. Oh, okay. No, there was an Earthbred Fighters ally in the same turn, because the future Gohan was there. So yeah, I'm not sure why the attack stat was so low for the first turn, but I guess it is what it is. So we'll grab these for you. Grab the int orbs for the trio. I mean, this is a very, very strong rotation. Like, the 2 LR trios here together on the same turn obviously can put out a ton of damage. And the physical trio providing all of that support as well. I mean, with Turles being in and obviously not very tough, the physical trio probably going to finish him off here anyway. Yeah, most likely going to be the case. So yeah, something to think about with this team. It's a reason why even when the Int Super Saiyan team released, like when they came out in December, like the end of last year, the team was crying out for like really strong slot 1 units, because these guys just want to be in slot 1. And so the Vegeta releasing for Saiyan Day was like huge for this team, right? Because he then is the perfect unit that you put in slot 1 for them. So go ahead and do this, and then grab these for you. And then we'll have the trio and Gohan together on the next turn. I guess it's that you just got to decide how to best do the rotations. Like I said, in a shorter event, like any of the endgame content on Global that we have now, the next turn would very easily just be, you just put Gohan into the standby, and then you can put the Super Saiyan LR trio in slot 2. But then, of course, you have to, like, you would then be floating off the physical Super Saiyan trio. So it almost becomes a case that, like, the units on this team are all so good, like, you don't really want to float any of them off. And funnily enough, the Int Super Saiyan trio would probably be the best option for units to be floated in terms of the value that they bring to the team. But of course, like I say, because of the way their super attack effect buff works, you don't really want them being floated off, because then they're losing out on those buffs. I mean, I guess they're still, like, it's not like they're unusable without those buffs, I guess, but it's probably still not a situation that you necessarily want to be in with them. But either way, like, the team works very well. Obviously, all the units link very well. I mean, a category like Super Saiyans, obviously, it's only going to have characters on it that are going to have these specific sets of links and everything, so everyone links very nicely together. Obviously the base Vegeta is the one with probably sharing the least links at this point, but that's just because we haven't transformed with him yet. But yeah, we will obviously be able to do that. Now, we won't necessarily transform with him straight away, because we do want to make sure that we're getting the stacks in and all of that stuff, but let's see. So yeah, if this was any other event, like, we would just active skill with you here straight away, put you in slot 1. But I guess we'll try out floating the trio here and just see exactly what we can get them up to numbers wise. Gohan doesn't need any key. And then we can just grab all of the int orbs for the Super Saiyan trio at the end. But yeah, I mean, this team will definitely be very strong for quite some time. It's funny because the physical trio themselves have Super Saiyans as one of their leader skills, so a lot of these characters do fit under their lead. Not all of them, but like as in the full 200%. So the Carnival LR is obviously good because you don't have to worry about that crossover with the other categories, right? They will just lead all Super Saiyans for 200% regardless. But it's funny that if you do pull the trio, considering how good they are as a leader, because this is the problem, if you compare the Int Super Saiyan trio to the physical Super Saiyan trio, not even just in terms of what they do, because obviously in terms of what they do, the physical trio is obviously better, but even just like if you compare them as leaders for the team, whilst the Int trio are giving that full 200% leader skill to everyone on the team, they are a unit that, as we've discussed, like, they just kind of have one role that they can fill, and that is being in slot 2. Otherwise you're missing out on a bunch of their abilities and their, like, stats and stuff like that. Whereas the trio, they're a unit that not only can just casually sit in slot 1 and help, like, you know, not only be good defensively, but help buff the rest of the team, and then that lets you do whatever you want with, like, the rest of the rotations, right? Because having a unit that on the team, or 2 units on the team, if you're running them as double leads, 2 units on the team that have to sit in slot 2, it kind of limits your team building, right? Because then not only do you need to bring slot 1 units in order to make sure that they can survive, but then, or slot 1 units, did I say slot 1 units? You have to bring slot 1 units to make sure that they can live, and then obviously the Int trio goes in slot 2, and that's like the only place they can go. And so then all the other units you bring on the team have to be units that can be fine just being in slot 3 and being floated. So I think the team setup with the Int trio is nowhere near as good as if you're just running the physical trio as a leader. But for the full 200% Super Saiyans team, I mean, this team is still very, very good, very competitive in terms of keeping up with the more difficult content. And the Super Saiyan trio themselves, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, they are still a very good unit. They do get buffed by the presence of the physical trio. Although I guess we do need to be careful. I should have floated these ones off, because that's the thing, we're going to end up with double in trio rotation, which is the only problem with having to keep Vegeta and Gohan apart, whilst having these 2 units that ideally just want to be constantly sat in slot 2 on each rotation. So there are definitely issues when it comes to the best ways to play out the rotation with some of these units. But for the Super Saiyan team specifically, if you're not running double trio, you do want another one of these units that's going to be really, really strong in slot 1. And so Vegeta definitely is a very, very good option for that. It's a shame units like Tech Carnival Goku, right, the Bird Coup, it's a shame that he's kind of aged out as much as he has when it comes to the more difficult endgame content, because he would be really, really good on this team if he was still like a viable unit, right, for tough bosses. The trio obviously does help him out a little bit, but his biggest issue is obviously the fact that he has to get hit first to get that big defense buff. And so against some of these tougher bosses, if that first hit of the turn that he's taking is the super, then he takes a crazy amount of damage, which is not what we want, right? So bit of a shame. The team needs these better slot 1 units. The trio absolutely are a fantastic slot 1 unit, but if you're not running double leads, you only have 1 of them. But yeah, this rotation is just ridiculously good, right? The trio plus Gohan, because we have all of our links active. Let's think, after Cooler we've still got 13 Bojack and Janemba to go, so we probably don't want to use the standby with Gohan just yet. Does he stack on his supers? I can't remember. No, he doesn't. So there's no, it's not like we're not getting any extra benefit from not using his standby straight away, but obviously we want to get the full 5 turns charge, but we also kind of want to use the Family Kamehameha against the AGL Broly. Which of course, funnily enough, because he's AGL, if we don't crit, even though we could get a ton of charges, if we don't crit we won't do a lot of damage, which is kind of funny. But blow away Cooler here, and then we can go on to Android 13. What's Vegeta up to here defense wise? He's almost at 1 million. I mean, we'll keep him stacking a little bit here, why not? And then we can get some decent int orbs for you and for you as well. So even though it's not ideal having the 2 of them together, I think that is the biggest weakness, right, of the double leads for these guys, because I guess it's one of the only issues with Gohan. I mean, I guess while we're not using the standby for Gohan, we could have just had Gohan floating. I suppose is probably the best way to do this in the early turns, in retrospect, now that we're here multiple turns into the event, is you just float Gohan until you get to the point where you want to use his active skill, because he only needs that full superclass rotation for the standby, because then obviously if you don't have the full superclass rotation, he doesn't get the 77% damage reduction, and that's what makes him so tanky in that standby. So you could float him, so like turns like this where he'd end up in slot 3 with Vegeta on the rotation, it won't really matter, because obviously he doesn't need to worry about that when he's in his starting form. It's only going to be once you go into the standby that you need to make sure you've got the full superclass rotation. So I guess we could float Gohan, keep the 2 int Super Saiyan trios in slot 2 for the most part, and then it's only as you get nearer to the end and then you're going to be charging up the Family Kamehameha that you need to worry about changing up the rotations anyway, right? So either way, we should be all good here. Do we want to start now? 5 turns. Got the active skill for Gogeta, which will we finish off 13 this turn? I feel like we could. Yeah, let's go ahead and use it now. Maybe it's still too early, but if nothing else, we could potentially one-shot Janemba with it if Bojack ends up taking a little bit longer than I would like. But because I guess that is the only downside with mine being at 55%. Like I said, if we don't get the crit against Broly, even with a ton of charges, it's not actually going to do that much damage, which would be unfortunate. So we'll do this. There's not a lot of orbs for you, which is a shame. Grab those. And then grab those. We get 3 of the Dragon Balls there with that batch of orbs for Gogeta. But bear in mind, we're going to keep it charged for the 5 turns. I, so far, in the experience with using Gohan since I pulled him, have not had an instance where we haven't actually been able to get, like, all of the Dragon Balls, right? So, we should be all good. Okay, trio, they did a bit of damage. I think, actually, yeah, physical Gogeta, I think with the orbs that we picked up, we got the rainbow orbs, he's going to get the guaranteed additional. I think Gogeta probably takes out 13 here, right? Let's see. Yeah, he's starting at 14.8, and he's effective against all types. He's getting a minimum of 3 super attacks. So, he's got to finish him off here, right? Yeah, no way. No way he doesn't. That's after 1 super, so yeah, he should be fine. Oh, never mind. Alright, well, I guess we might as well get one more stack in with you then, since there's no point not. And then 13 can't dodge or anything, so we might as well just grab those. Make sure we get the last Dragon Ball. Grab the 13 orbs with you. Dokkan attack with Vegeta. Wow. Gogeta really let the side down there a little bit, because going into the next phase and having the Dokkan attack available straight away would have been really nice. Let's go. I guess it is what it is. So Vegeta gets another stack in here. He's going to be well over 1 million defense at this point. So we might go ahead and transform him on the next appearance. Who's getting locked where? The trio. Okay, well, that's perfectly fine, because Standby Gohan goes in slot 1. Do this. Do this. And we can do that. It's not a lot of, it's not a full 24 key for them, not the 9 orbs they need in order to get all their supers, but still being able to get a decent amount of key with the int trio is always good. So that can be the problem with the int trio and the physical trio together, is that depending on who orb changes first and then who changes which type of orbs, they can end up changing each other's orbs, which is not what you want. So you have to be careful of that sometimes. I say be careful of it, like it's all RNG, right? So the trios together on the same rotation, while they do link really well together, and obviously the physical trio helps to support them defensively and everything, you can get into awkward situations. It was the same way running like God Goku on the Super Saiyan trio team when it first came out, right? You just got to be careful of these units that are changing orbs into different typings, and especially with the standby for the physical trio, right? Goku changes int orbs specifically into physical, so that's something that doesn't work super well with the int trio, so that's something to bear in mind. Alright, so we got the future Gohan domain actually ended. Crazy. Trio are locked in slot 3, that's fine. So what are you on? Yeah, 1.14. I mean, I guess at this point, like, we'll just keep going with the stacking. Damn, they didn't fall quite the way I would have liked. Fortunately, they have type advantage here, so don't need to worry about that really. Yeah, very lucky with the Bojack rotation locking in this run, because obviously rotation locking, we go on about it all the time, like how horrible it is, but it can in certain situations, unless you're gonna pop an item, like in certain situations it can literally be a run ender depending on who actually gets rotation locked and where. So definitely more than happy to get a nice lucky rotation with the locking. Alright, so Gogeta, we're in a similar situation as before here where, well, Gogeta definitely won't finish him off, but the trio unfortunately not getting a ton of key, so they're probably not going to get the finish here either. Should use their active skill really, now that I think about it, but it is what it is. So it looks like we are going to be using the family Kamehameha probably to finish off Janemba, because we'd have to finish we're not going to finish Bojack this turn, so it means we'd have to one-turn Janemba in order to be able to use the Family Kamehameha against... oh, no, wait, we're already on the third turn. Fifth turn. So... Oh, they got locked in slot 3. Well, that's annoying. So I guess we'll do this. Kind of an awkward situation to have to use it in, but I guess it is what it is. I mean, I wonder if Bojack will get killed here. So we'll see the difference between... We've seen some very, like, juiced up Family Kamehamehas, right? Where we've gotten to, like, 150 orbs, loads of support. This is with no support unit on the rotation for attack, outside of the bit that the physical trio gives. And we got, what, like 104 or 109? So... Probably not going to see the damage cap here, unless we crit, potentially. Yeah, 60... I mean, still 64 million damage, right? That's still insane. But 64 million damage. And then... We've still got tons of, like, active skills and stuff. What are you up to now? 1.2. Should we go ahead and actually transform... Let's go ahead and transform Vegeta here. Yeah, I can't wait for this guy to come back. I managed to get one dupe of him for Saiyan Day, but he's such a good unit. Like, I definitely want to get that second dupe, get his gold skill slot unlocked in the other all path. Because, yeah, he is a fantastic unit for sure. I guess I might as well just save the trio active skills for Broly. Save Gogeta as well with him as well. Yeah, of course, Vegeta getting hit first, gets the extra attack, gets the action break. $10 into 11 mil. I mean, his attack stats aren't as insane as some of the other units on the team, but obviously, as we've discussed already, he's there to be the slot 1 tank, right? He kind of is one of the main reasons the team works the way it does, right? Because... You could replace him with... I mean, you could... We mentioned him already, right, with the orb stuff. But you could use God Goku. Like, God Goku was a good slot 1 option for this team when the trio first came out. And with the physical trio around giving that extra defensive support for 2 turns, it does make God Goku that little bit better. So he's probably still a viable slot 1 option for this team. Yeah, the in trio hitting 11 mil. It's because they're not carrying over the buffs, right? Because they got floated off. Not carrying over the buff from the previous turn. Because their 18 key super, they get a defense raise and attack raise for 3 turns. And then every additional 12 key super they do is an attack raise for 3 turns. So the more they super, the next time they appear, the higher their attack power is going to be. So ideally, you always want to be using their active skill on a turn after they've done a bunch of additional supers, because then they've carried over all of that attack buff, and then their active skill can hit really hard. So these guys have done 3 additional 12 key supers on this turn, so we ideally want to be using their active skill on their next appearance, and it's going to do a crazy amount of damage. And of course we filled out the Fury bar, so we'll be getting the Rage Mode Janemba here next, but yeah, Gogeta can do some solid damage. I mean, this boss rush stage is interesting because, like, I did a run with the Broly team to kind of like speed run this stage, and by the time, looking at the time now, by the time we finish this stage, obviously this team is very good and it is very powerful, but like by the time we finish this stage, the Broly team will have done this run in like half the time. Because of the sheer amount of damage that they put out. But of course, that's because that team is so heavily focused on damage and not so much on defense, right? So speaking of, Gohan now not in his standby. It's all because the trio got locked. It's that stupid locking coming into play yet again. But the trio getting locked in slot 3 on that previous turn has meant that we don't have like a slot 1 unit on this turn, because the trio should be here to go in slot 1 instead of Gohan now that his standby is over. But of course Bojack locking them means that they then get floated off. And as you can see, like Gohan, even though he has guard, not ideally a slot 1 character. So 17 mil on his 18 key now. Remember, he gets 77% extra within the turn with each super as well. So he can do some very, very good damage. Once you start getting some dupes in him, give him some additional... He's a tough unit, I think, for hidden potential. He's probably a unit where I wouldn't give him a lot of dodge. I'd probably just give him the classic, like, give him 3 dodge like I do for most units. Because you want him to get additional supers in his base so he can do some extra damage. And then you do want to have crit so that the family Kamehameha can crit, right? And do that extra bit of damage, especially against AGL enemies. So I think he's a unit that doesn't need a lot of dodge. His defense is decent enough post-super when he's in base. And then in most events, right, because like we said already, this one is kind of the anomaly because it's a much longer event. In most events, you're probably going to be using his standby almost straight away, right? Because he can use it the turn after he first appears. He can even use it on his first appearance if you're below a certain amount of HP. But obviously, that requires him not being on turn 1. And so most of the time you're going to be using the standby straight away anyway. So you don't have to worry too much about his defense. Especially if like turn 1 in a lot of these events are not going to be as hard anyway. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I would ideally like to use these guys' active skill here. I mean, I might just use it anyway just to kill him. Move on to the next phase. Because... yeah, after getting all those additional supers on the last turn, that's when you want to use their active skill, right? 32 million crit. That's exactly what we want to see. And then, fortunately, the rotations have worked out quite nicely here because it means we can active skill with Gogeta and draw all of the fire, which kind of actually does save us from being in this awkward situation because of Bojack rotation locking the physical trio. All those turns ago... But it led up to this situation here where, like, on this turn, realistically, we don't have a slot 1 unit for Broly, considering how hard he can hit with his attacks. And you can see the difference there, by the way, in the damage, right? Like, we did 20 million less damage with the other trio, and that's because they didn't have all these attack stacks from the previous turn, right? So, but yeah, we go ahead and do this. Now, obviously, Gogeta's going to take all of the attacks and just dodge all of them. Oh, he also got the counter on the super. Let's go. Because, yeah, I mean, slot 1, that super absolutely kills Gohan here, right? We saw him taking 55k from physical from Janemba. And bear in mind, even though he has guard, against the physical unit, STR units have those nodes in their hidden potential where you take less damage from the, like, type advantage units you have type advantage over, right? So... Gohan, even with guard, is taking less damage from a physical enemy than he is from an AGL. And he took 55k normals from Janemba. So imagine him getting hit with the super in slot 1 by Broly. We wouldn't necessarily get one shot, especially from full health, I'm not sure. But, I mean, this AGL Broly does hit incredibly hard. So it's very possible. And then, of course, the trio here now guaranteed crits. Because we use the active skill this turn. And then, yeah, I think Tech Vegeta next turn is going to be able to do a lot of damage to this Broly with the type advantage as well. So we find ourselves in a solid position here. And then, of course, we get the physical trio back. The only difference is that the physical trio... Well, we countered both the supers. Nice. The only problem with the physical trio coming back after so many turns is that they didn't get to super on their last appearance, which means they don't have any of their stacks. But the counter to that is now that we've already used the family Kamehameha, we can just go ahead and use their standby for the super punch. So then they're going to be able to tank. I mean, that's assuming Broly survives the next turn, which I'm not sure that he will, considering we've got Tech Vegeta in slot 1. Who's going to get hit? I mean, unless Broly's not attacking in slot 1, he's going to get hit a whole bunch and get his buffs, get the extra attack, the action break, all that good stuff. Plus, Broly might actually be on low enough HP that we can use the Big Bang attack as well. So, yeah, he is. So, go ahead and use this. 24 million crit. Then we can grab these for you. Not a great setup for the trio here, but at least we can get the 18 key super, and 6 orbs means the potential for 2 additionals. And then, yeah, Tech Vegeta can just eat all of these attacks in slot 1, basically on full health, so like he's getting a full buff How much does he actually take the super for here? Is he going to take double-digit damage from this? I mean, it still takes 118k. So, I mean, that goes to show how hard this Broly can hit, right? So, if he had supered that STR Gohan in slot 1 without the Gogeta standby, definitely could have been in for a bit of trouble there. But the additional up to 15.7. Don't need to worry about crits because we've got type advantage, but getting crits anyway. Does he get, I think he gets guaranteed crits on the active skill turn anyway, right? So unable to attack due to fear. I do love that that's what it says for the standby thing. But yeah, there you go. So the Int Trio, going to finish him off here. Very fitting as the leaders of the team. But yeah, like I said, this run, the run with the Broly team, which, I mean, I'm not going to even for a second suggest that these guys were going to be on the level of the Broly team, which I think is one of the best teams in the game currently. But yeah, this run taking almost double the time of the Broly team to beat the movie boss rush for Red Zone. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the Super Saiyan 200% team. How would you run this team? If you have to run the double int leads for the int trios, how would you build the team and what would your rotations be? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. But yeah, quite a long run, this boss rush stage. I wonder if they will add more missions to it at some point. And of course, bear in mind, the next time we get any sort of GT themed celebration, we should get the GT Red Zone boss rush as well, which will be interesting. But yeah, let me know all your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.